This is the final section of our today's lecture. In this section, we will talk about the vasculitic and anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathy. Vasculitic neuropathy is a heterogeneous group of condition characterized by necrotizing inflammation and luminal narrowing of vasa nervosum resulting in ischemic injury. This occurs either in association with a systemic vasculitis or it may occur alone as a disease of peripheral nervous system. On the other hand, paraneoplastic peripheral neuropathy is a common manifestation of paraneoplastic neurological anti-HU syndrome. Subacute sensory neuronopathy is the most frequent presentation. There is destruction of the sensory neuron cell bodies in the dorsal root ganglia in this disease. Patients usually present with pain, dysesthesias, joint and destruction of the joint position and vibration sense, and impairment of other sensory modalities as well. In this section, we will talk about the symptoms of vasculitic and anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathy, the diagnosis of these two neuropathies, and the treatment options that are available for them. Vasculitic neuropathy is a diverse group of disorders characterized by the acute to subacute onset of painful, sensory, and motor deficits that usually result from inflammatory destruction of nerve blood vessels and subsequent ischemic injury. There are two mechanisms have been identified in the pathogenesis of vasculitic neuropathy. One of them is the deposition of immune complexes in the vasa nervorum, and the other one is activation of the cell-mediated immunity. In case of vasculitic neuropathy, peripheral nerve involvement is common in cases of polyarthritis nodosa. The most common pattern of vasculitic neuropathy is multifocal asymmetric motor sensory neuropathy, that is also known as mononeuritis multiplex. It occurs due to the involvement of nerve trunks and roots. Some of the cases present as a distal symmetric sensorimotor polyneuropathy. What are the symptoms of neuropathy? Patients usually present with pain and burning or tingling sensations. Symptoms, those are related to those of sensory part of the nerves. The electrodiagnostic findings are those of an axonal process. There is specifically small to medium-sized arteries of vasa nervorum. Particularly, the epineural vessels are affected in case of polyarthritis nodosa. Whenever these epineural vessels are involved, there is resultant widespread ischemic injury. Due to this widespread ischemic neuropathy, a high frequency of neuropathy is also found in other conditions such as in allergic angiitis and granulomatosis, Churg-Strauss syndrome. Systemic vasculitis should be considered whenever a subacute or chronically evolving mononeuropathy multiplex occurs in conjunction with the constitutional symptoms, which are fever, anorexia, weight loss, loss of energy, malaise, and non-specific pains. Whenever a patient is complaining of all these constitutional symptoms, along with there are features of certain subacute or chronically evolving neuropathy, always consider a systemic disease going on. The diagnosis of systemic vasculitis is made by using combined nerve and muscle biopsy, along with serial section or skip serial techniques. Now the systemic vasculitis is divided into three main categories. The one involving large vessels, the one involving medium vessels, and the one which is mainly affecting the small vessels. The examples of large vessel vasculitis include the giant cell arteritis or the Takayasu arteritis. The one which is affecting the medium-sized vessels, those include Kawasaki and polyarteritis nodosa. And the type of systemic vasculitis affecting the small vessels are divided into ANCA-associated and immune complex mediated vasculitis. Now, if we talk about the non-systemic disease or the vasculitis specific to only the peripheral nervous system, 1/3 of the biopsy-proven cases of neuropathy are non-systemic, which means they are not associated with any systemic disease that could be responsible for causing the vasculitis. They affect only peripheral nerves. There are no constitutional symptoms present in these non-systemic diseases. Their course is more indolent than that of polyarteritis nodosa. In these non-systemic diseases, the ESR might be elevated, but all other tests will be negative. Vasculitis syndrome. The vasculitic neuropathy may also be seen as part of a vasculitis syndrome, which means that it occurs in association with certain other diseases going on in the body. Particularly, it occurs in course of other connective tissue disorders. The most frequent and the most important of those disorders is the rheumatoid arthritis. Ischemic neuropathy, due to the involvement of vasa nervorum, may also occur in certain other disorders besides rheumatoid arthritis and as a vasculitis syndrome. And those disorders include mixed cryoglobulinemia, Sjogren's syndrome, granulomatosis with polyangiitis, known as Wegener's granulomatosis, hypersensitivity angiitis, systemic lupus erythematosus, and progressive systemic sclerosis. These all diseases can be associated with vasculitic neuropathy as part of a vasculitis syndrome. Anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibodies. Now, some vasculitides, they are associated with specific antibodies for their detection. Those specific antibodies are known as ANCAs, also called anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibodies. Now, these antibodies are further subclassified according to the type of vasculitis in which they are involved. Subclassified as cytoplasmic c-ANCAs. These cytoplasmic antibodies are directed against proteinase 3, PR3, or they are directed against PR3 c-ANCAs are associated with granulomatosis with polyangiitis, Wegener's granulomatosis. And the other subclassification is perinuclear anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibodies, or p-ANCAs. The p-ANCAs target myeloperoxidase, MPO. These MPO p-ANCAs, they are associated with microscopic polyangiitis, Churg-Strauss syndrome, polyarteritis nodosa, and minocycline-induced vasculitis. If we talk about the treatment of these neuropathies, we can manage these patients by treatment of the underlying condition, either by using by the aggressive use of glucocorticoids and cyclophosphamide. Research has shown that a combination of rituximab and glucocorticoids is not is of equal importance as of glucocorticoids and cyclophosphamide. So this combination of rituximab and glucocorticoids can be used as standard initial treatment, particularly for ANCA-associated vasculitis. Moving on to anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathy. This particular type of neuropathy selectively damages the sensory nerve bodies in dorsal root ganglia. It is also known as a sensory neuronopathy. As you can see in this diagram, this is a subsection of spinal cord. These are the ventral roots in which motor nerves travel, and these are the dorsal roots, and this is a sensory nerve ganglia, dorsal root ganglia. Dorsal roots carry sensory nerves, and these sensory nerves carry impulses, or they carry signals from from all over the body, and they take it to the brain and spinal cord and brain. In this particular neuropathy, these dorsal root ganglia are being attacked by the antibodies, damaging the sensory component of the dorsal root. Onset is often asymmetric with dysesthesias and pain. There is usually sensory loss in the limbs, and it progresses to affect all the limbs, the torso, and the face. But there is no motor involvement in case of anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathies. Patients usually present with marked sensory ataxia and pseudoathetosis. They usually have inability to walk, stand, or even sit unsupported because of these sensory abnormalities. All these characteristic symptoms are secondary to extensive deafferentation. What does that mean? As I have told you, that dorsal root ganglia carries the sensory fibers which carry impulses from all over the body and take them to spinal cord and brain. These fibers which carry information towards the spinal cord and brain, they are called afferent fibers, and the fibers which carry information from the brain and spinal cord to other parts of the body, they are called efferent fibers. Since the afferent fibers are involved in these neuropathies, that is why we say that these symptoms are secondary to extensive deafferentation. Subacute sensory neuronopathy is the most frequent presentation of this syndrome, and it may be most of the times idiopathic. But more than half of the cases are paraneoplastic. This is one of the important diagnostic criteria of anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathy, that it is always associated with an underlying tumor. Most commonly, that tumor is a lung cancer, and particularly small cell lung cancer are involved in case of anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathies. Moving on to the diagnosis. Diagnosis of underlying small cell lung cancer can be made by the awareness of association, testing for paraneoplastic antibody, positron emission tomography, PET scanning for the tumor, by detecting the target antigens, which are a family of RNA binding proteins, HUD, HUC, and HEL-N1. These target antigens are found normally on the neurons, and they are responsible for maintaining the phenotype of neuronal phenotype. by the presence of encephalomyelitis, because this is mostly associated with these neuropathies, and neurologic symptoms which precede by 6 months the identification of small cell lung cancer. So these points are very important for the diagnosis of underlying small cell lung cancer. The target antigens such as HUD, HUC and HELN1, they are expressed by neurons in normal tissues, and they are also expressed by the small cell lung cancer, due to which people having small cell lung carcinomas, the body starts an immune response against these target antigens when they are expressed by small cell lung carcinoma. It is characterized by antibodies and cytotoxic cells. These antibodies and cytotoxic cells, which are produced in response to the antigens expressed by small cell lung carcinoma, they cross-react with the HU proteins of dorsal root ganglion neurons, which are the normal structure of these neurons. They start damaging those dorsal root ganglion neurons, resulting in immune-mediated neuronal destruction. Most cases of these neuropathies, they are unresponsive to treatment. They do not respond either to glucocorticoids, intravenous immunoglobulins, plasma exchange, or any of the immunosuppressant drugs. And there is still need to be a treatment option found for these types of neuropathies. This was all about the vasculitic neuropathy and anti-HU paraneoplastic neuropathy. We will conclude our presentation over here. Thank you for watching Scaria.com.